As you join us today, we encourage you to reflect on the land that you're on and its history. We're located on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. The territory is within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant and is home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We're grateful to work on this land.
Every person growing up should feel that a career in the screen arts is feasible for them, and not enough do.
I've been coming to this festival for a long time. It remains the thing for me that I'm most excited about every year.
I think storytelling can really help us change perspectives in a way that a lot of other things can't.
Story and imagination and telling our pasts and predicting our futures, that's the magic of why we get into this business.
This festival was for me, as it's been for many of the filmmakers, so generous. And it's been like a launching pad for so many careers. Thank you, Toronto.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Thom Powers, the documentary programmer for the festival. Welcome to the industry conference. Today we have a really special opportunity to sit down and talk with Mariska Hargitay, who has two major projects out this year, and I'll get to talking about them. Many of you know her for her role on Law & Order SVU, playing Detective Olivia Benson, which she's been doing since 1999. Over the years, Mariska has shown a deep commitment to survivors of sexual assault. She founded the Joyful Heart Foundation in 2004 with a mission to transform society's response to sexual assault and prioritize survivors' healing. In 2017, she produced the documentary called I Am Evidence, directed by Trish Adlasek and Geeta Ganbir. I Am Evidence was investigating the thousands of untested rape kits that sit in police storage units around the United States, and is an extraordinary documentary, I Am Evidence. This year, as I've said before, she has two major projects. The first one is a film that she directed herself called My Mom Jayne, about her mother, Jayne Mansfield, who died in 1967 when Mariska was 3 years old. It's a deeply moving film. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival and became on streaming this summer on HBO in the US and Crave in Canada. And her second project that she's an executive producer on that has its world premiere tonight at TIFF is called Nuns versus the Vatican by the filmmakers Lorena, Luciano, and Filippo, Piscopo, who are also joined by Trish Adlasek as a collaborator, reuniting Mariska and Trish from their earlier projects. Today we're going to talk about Mariska's journey into documentary film. We're going to talk about her project, My Mom Jayne, and we're going to talk about Nuns versus the Vatican, giving you a little preview of that. Before I bring her out, I want to start with a clip from My Mom Jayne. Now, the thing to know about this film is that it's multi-layered. It's an exploration of the mother that she barely knew. It's an exploration of her father. There are many things going on at once, and so to pick a clip from it, any clip would kind of, in some ways, does a disservice to the complexity of the film. But I chose a clip particularly maybe for younger people in the audience for whom Jayne Mansfield's may not register, to kind of establish, who Jayne Mansfield was and what she meant in the time. So let's watch that clip from My Mom Jayne.
Jayne Mansfield and Mariska Hargitay have just left this American Airlines plane. A huge crowd has gathered.
Jayne Mansfield has leaped from total obscurity to one of the most publicized stars of the present day. Today, she was signed to a long-term movie contract by 20th Century Fox. At the moment, she is also the most photographed woman in show business.
Miss Mansfield, in 1954, not too many years ago, you were selling candy in a Hollywood theater. How do you account for your meteoric rise to fame?
Well, Joyce, what I have done is this. I use my pin-up type publicity to get my foot in the door, so to speak, because it never was really my ambition.
Do you like doing that?
I use it as a means to an end. I don't know if I should say I liked it, but I felt that it would do me some good to being put into a position where I could project myself to what I really wanted to attain.
This is Rita Marla, star of stage, screen, and now live television. I think it's very, very bad taste.
What's very bad taste?
Telling your wife you love her in front of me.
Jayne, how do you like it here at Deuce Air Base?
Oh, I love it anywhere there are men on the alert.
She's not kidding either. The radar keeps going ring-a-ding-ding.
Please welcome Mariska Hargitay. Thank you for being, is this your first time ever at TIFF?
Absolutely.
Oh.
And I'm so incredibly honored to be here, I have to say.
We're so pleased to have you. I mean, I had the chance to do one conversation for the Ankler this week, and after watching Nuns versus the Vatican and My Mom Jayne, I really wanted it to be with you.
Oh, thank you.
We'll get to My Mom Jayne in a minute, but I want to start by kind of asking about your move into documentary film that, to my knowledge, kind of started with I Am Evidence. What, made you feel like this was a good use of your time?
Well, I think that if somebody asked me what my hobby was, it was always documentary. And I felt that it was such a powerful medium and such an educational medium. And I personally just learned so much from documentaries, and it also connected me to so many worlds that I knew nothing about, but different than a book. It was such a visceral experience. And in 2009, when I learned about the backlog of untested rape kits, the hundreds of thousands of rape kits that hadn't been tested, is when I, my head exploded because I couldn't believe that these kits weren't being tested, and I just couldn't believe the statistics. So I kept saying, what am I going to do about this? What am I going to do about it? And then I thought of all the documentaries that I'd seen that, made me do something. So I think we started in 2016. I started working on it and decided that that's what I was going to do to make change. And it was such an incredible experience. You do any of these movies, and it's a fishing expedition, and you're making a puzzle and putting these pieces together, and where it led was so mind-blowing that, and really ended up healing people, that inspired me very deeply.
I did want to ask you, what you saw, the effects of that film. Maybe you can elaborate what you mean when you say healing people?
Well, one thing for survivors, as you know, I started a foundation for victims of sexual assault and domestic violence in 2004. And so many people didn't know about the statistics. People didn't know that it was 1 in 3 women in their lifetime would be abused. 1 in 6 men in their lifetime would be abused. People just didn't know these statistics. And so when I started SVU, I was like, I have to do something. I have to do something. And I was so grateful to be on a show that was that progressive, that was talking about these things. And as, again, the storytelling, the power of television or the big screen on people, all of a sudden, if you're talking about it on television, then we have permission to talk about it. So survivors' voices had been squashed and nobody was listening to them, and the way that women were being treated and the way that these kits weren't tested said that we don't care about women in this country. And everybody wants to be seen, whether you're a survivor or not. Everyone wants to be believed. And we believe survivors, and we told their stories. So elevating women's voices made them feel, as they should, that they do matter. Thank you.
Let me ask you about My Mom Jayne. It's, the clip I chose does not convey what a deeply personal journey this was for you. You describe early in the film that you have, because you were 3 years old when your mom died, you have very little memories. The memories you do have, you say you can't, not even really sure if they're real memories or the memories that you want to have of her. And it seems that you'd kind of kept that at a distance, like digging into that history at a distance. So what made you finally go there?
Several things, but I think the biggest impetus was not wanting to carry the secret anymore, and not wanting to live in shame, but also having this deep yearning and curiosity to really find out who my mother was. I've yearned for her, as all children do when they lose a parent young, and mother has always been a complicated subject for me. I also, we can get into this later, but I also grew up, very Catholic, and this idea of her being a sex symbol was very stressful for me, and I was like, why can't I just have a normal mom who like bakes cookies? And instead, mine was running around in a bathing suit and heels. So that was just complicated for me, and I didn't understand it. And I did carry shame, and I wanted to understand who this person was behind the choices that she made, and also unburden myself of this secret that was not mine to carry. And also invite people to look into their own families. And if we have the tolerance to be, I would say, like disciplined in our curiosity that was one of my goals, is to really find out what happened without indictment, without judgment, but to really say, what happened? Why did you do this? And to really understand. I came out with gifts that I never could have imagined. And also the generosity of my siblings in this film, and the generosity of everyone who spoke so candidly, and the hearts that were opened were beyond anything I could have imagined. And so the connection of humanity on that level, and the connection to myself and to my siblings and to community, has been staggering.
I mean, it strikes me when I hear you talk about it that it's still a emotional center for you. Sometimes when people finish a film, it's like closing a box. Like they've finished that, they've put that away, they've dealt with it. And obviously you came through this project with a lot of deeper understanding, some profound understandings that we see on screen, but you definitely haven't put it into a box. And
No.
yeah.
Quite the opposite. I think that doing this project has created so much more internal space for me, and so much more curiosity, and so much more, I don't know if I can even call it courage, right? Because a lot of people saw the film and they were like, oh my God, you're so courageous. You put, undid and put it all out there. And yet it was so incredibly freeing to me. And those are the kind of films that I want to make, because there were people that loved me a lot, that warned me and said, I wouldn't open that can of worms. I'd leave it alone, Mariska. You don't need to go in there. Even my siblings at the beginning were like, really? I mean, it's a long time ago. Let it go. And, I asked them for their blessing to make this film, because it's their story too. And at the end, and I tell this story because it's one of the most beautiful parts of my journey with My Mom Jayne, is that when I flew to LA to show it to my family, they were so nervous, my two brothers and my sister. And at the end of the movie, as we all held each other, and we sat in 2 seats, my sister and I and my brothers, and we were all holding each other for an hour 45. At the end of the movie, my sister, we were hugging, and my sister said, I feel like we're 4 people with one heart. And it was so extraordinary. And at that moment, I was like, I'm done. This is why I made the film. I'm done. I'm good. This is why, because I think it was quite organizing for all of us to understand what happened. Because you're a little kid and you're just making up stuff. What could have happened? Why? Why did they do this? Why did they leave me? Why did they leave me alone? Why did she die? Why? What about faith? Blah, blah, blah. All these questions are, you're bombarded with these questions that how do we make sense of this life, of this world? And to me, I got so much sense and organization from it. And I feel so much more open and more capable of love. And that's been the reaction from people about the film.
Did it feel like a freeing journey all the way through, or was that a hard one?
Oh, it's a hard one. Oh, no. It's a bumpy ride. Don't be confused. Oh, it's all love and flowers now. No. There was so much of what to include, what not to include. My feelings, for those of you who've seen it, about the reporter. I had a lot of feelings, big feelings. And I had a lot of stuff to work out. But at the end of the day, that was the gift that was unexpected. I think at the end of the day, I had no idea how this was going to end. I had no idea. It's very hard, as you know better than anyone, to put a documentary together. When I first started it, sort of conceived it and was planning, I thought it was a three-part documentary. I was like, how am I going to weave these pieces together? HBO was so helpful. They're like, no, we think it's one movie. And so they pushed me in that, because there was so much material. And I, as a filmmaker, I was so lucky because there was so much archival, right? It was such a gift.
That we do get a sense of.
Yes, here you get a sense of. But it was just an extraordinary. And I had just such an incredible team, and of obviously my Tricia Lessig, who produced the film, who we had done I Am Evidence, and we worked at SVU before, so we had this incredible history and shorthand, and wanted the same thing, but because she's not only a producer but also a filmmaker and a director, it was just an extraordinary, very rich process, and just so rewarding and so difficult. My first film directing.
So the last question I want to ask you before we start talking about Nuns versus the Vatican is, I wonder how you reflect on your journey in being an actress relative to your mom's journey being an actress.
Yeah.
If there were direct influences there, subconscious influences, no connection at all?
I think the answer is E, all of the above, right? obviously, so much of us, like 90% or 95 goes in, unconsciously of what drives us. But, I mean, I think there was, people say, oh, you can be an actress like your mother, when I was in high school, and I was like, no. And I really had no interest, no interest in it. But then I did sports in high school, and I was a swimmer, and then I was like, oh, I'll try out for the play. And I just fell in love with storytelling. And I was, a senior and doing, in a Catholic school, doing a play about abortion. And really tough issues back in the day. I mean, I'm only 30, but this was 1982, people, okay? It's weird, the math never makes, I was never good at math. But then I started acting, I fell in love with it, I loved storytelling, but my thing was like, I want to be very serious, strong. And I really modeled myself after my father, who was very strong. And so, when I started playing a lot of cops, and then when I got SVU, I was like, this was like a glove, I found the perfect glove that was meant for me. And I love that role, and I still do. And now it's been such a gift, because after doing this film, I'm ready to play a sex symbol. But, I mean, come on, guys, look at the knee. It's a good knee, right? I am really. But the thing, what I mean about that is that the film was that helped me integrate. Going after my mother's story and learning about her, and learning the complexity of who she was, learning all the different parts about who she was. They tried to put her in a box, and I also had put her in a box from my little, inexperienced perspective. And then I got to know her, and I went, wow, you were amazing. You were so strong and talented and ambitious, and went by your own rules, and you were trying to figure it out, and managing all these things, and gorgeous, and had, pulled herself together. I don't know if she showed the knee like I did, but the point was, it was so, I got to take pieces of myself back, if that makes sense.
So as we transition to talk about Nuns versus the Vatican, let's go back to your Catholic upbringing and how much it was a part of your life, and to kind of set up, because it's clear to me
it's
that
relevant.
It's relevant. Yes. So let's.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate on how much Catholicism meant to you as a young person?
A lot. I grew up going, to church every Sunday, and went to private Catholic school for grade school, and then went on to high school, and was very moved by it, and was very religious, and just loved God. And because of that, always had nuns for my teachers, who have been some of the most inspiring people in my life. And ironically, when I was in high school, Sister Margaret, who was my history teacher, is the one who suggested to me that I try out for the play. Isn't that amazing? But she's the one who saw me and was like, you're an extrovert, you need to do this, you need to get up there. So I just think that's a little bit of a sidebar. But I just loved God and church, and loved the clarity of it, and loved confession, and this idea of repentance and starting again, and the fact that there was this ultimate more than our families, more than anything, and that he was watching, and that it made me feel safe, and it taught me about trust. It taught me about trust. And I trusted everybody. In my school, I trusted the priests, I trusted the nuns. They changed my life, and it was so profoundly sacred to me. It meant everything to me.
I mean, like many people of our generation, I also grew up Catholic, 12 years of Catholic school. Was in theater, didn't quite go as far as you in that respect. And from my
The nuns didn't tell you to be become an actress?
I was at all-boys Jesuit school, so I didn't get that encouragement. But for our generation, many of us had a lot of our understanding of the Catholic Church challenged in many different ways, and that can be a gradual process. You told me that like one of the stepping stones for you to be rethinking what the Catholic Church meant as an institution was the documentary Mea Maxima Culpa that premiered here at the festival several years ago by Alex Gibney, that looked at a case of sexual abuse in the Catholic Church, in this case of young deaf students. Can you talk about what that film meant to you and what your own journey of kind of, challenging these things that you've always understood?
The movie undid me. It undid me, as do any shows. I mean, on SVU, people say, how do you handle it? How do you handle it? And, it's the episodes about children that is very hard to metabolize and comprehend and download. But when I saw that movie and finding out what happened to the priests and finding out that they were moved around, I couldn't, it was like a baseball bat to the back of my knees. It took me down. And then finding out what was happening to these boys, and then finding out that when the boys disclosed that their parents didn't believe them. And that was the part where I went, this can't be. This kind of abuse of authority is so devastating and so soul-crushing to our humanity and to everything that is possible. And it is a derailer of a life. It is a derailer because how can you have faith? Victims of sexual assault are already isolated. Victims of sexual assault already carry shame. But to not be believed, to not have somebody bear witness to you and say, I believe you, how does the healing, the reconstruction begin? So for me, I've had so many survivors say that, by the way, that a parent not believing them is oftentimes worse than the actual abuse. And because the Catholic Church, the church, is the authority, it's a wall, and you can't penetrate it. And that needs to be stopped. So for me, this movie, Nuns versus the Vatican, I was so blown away by the material because we are sort of, we think about abuse in the Catholic Church. It's sort of been framed more as a homosexual issue. We don't even think about. I had never thought about women. I had never thought about nuns. I actually was like, wait, what? And I thought, of course, another example of women being erased from the narrative. Another example of the oppression and saying that women don't matter. So again, you talk about women that are isolated and women who don't have a voice, who are taught to serve and to be reverent. and talk about being silenced. It was so staggering to me, and such an important issue to discuss that I was so grateful to come on board and elevate these incredible women's voices.
So the filmmakers, Lorena, Luciano, and Filippo, Piscopo, have been working on this project for many years with great dedication. You know, we see over the course of this film transpire, you know, a lot of time pass. I should say there's a former nun at the center of this film named Gloria, who carried around terrible secrets for many years and finally had the courage to come forward, make allegations, and because of her, dozens of other women, former nuns, have come forward to make similar allegations. We have a 2-minute clip of Nuns versus the Vatican. Why don't we watch that so we can get a little experience of this film?
Reverendo Padre Generale, scrivo questa lettera aperta per cercare di rompere il cerchio del silenzio dopo tanta sofferenza per abusi psicofisici spirituali che mi hanno più volte gettata nella disperazione fino a cercare la morte scappando dalla comunità. Come vittima e cristiana ho il diritto ad un'aspettativa di giustizia. Per chi, poco più che ventenne, ha visto la sua vita irrimediabilmente stravolta. Quando sono andata via dalla comunità Loyola ho perso tutti i contatti con le sorelle. Con dolore anche. Poi Miriam, una mia consorella, mi ha cercata e dopo 30 anni ci siamo ritrovati. Io all'inizio non avevo capito che altre sorelle erano coinvolte. Marco ha cominciato a dirmi, siccome il nostro rapporto è a immagine della Trinità Divina, ci deve essere il terzo, che sarebbe lo Spirito Santo tra padre e figlio, no? Quindi era proprio un'orgia totale.
So the figure who is most prominent in that clip is Gloria, and her act of coming forward to public has been taking place over many years. You know, one thing a point that's made in the film is that nuns take a vow of obedience, a vow of poverty, a vow of chastity, and it's an extraordinary combination to keep someone from speaking out. With all your work with survivors, I wonder what are the things that you see in this case that are perfectly consistent with other survivors you've worked with, and what makes this a little different?
This is such a rough clip from the movie, right? Because we see the masterful, devastating grooming that goes on. One of the things, the first things is isolation, right? The isolation, keeping them, all those things that you just said about being, submissive and serving. But this is so particularly twisted to compare, have the audacity to compare what he was doing to her with the Holy Trinity. The most egregious thing, one of the most egregious things I think I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's so sacrilegious, it's so evil and twisted. But in so many ways, you think about nuns are almost like the perfect victim because of those things. And you can't believe it because they're so sacred, and this idea of giving, making a vow to give to God and then having it be twisted is, I just want to, have this movie screened all around the world so people can see that, God is one thing, but the church is fallible. God is one thing, but we must question authority, and we must yeah. I'll say something that I wasn't planning on saying, but when I met the nuns today, and it was very emotional meeting to see them because they're so incredibly inspiring and beautiful and full of grace, which you will see when you see the film. But I thought, this idea of obedience. And I remember one time being Catholic growing up, and my father said, "Oh, God is in all of us. God is in all of us. We are made in God's image. God, I am God, you are God." And I was like, "Whoa, Dad, no, that's blasphemy. I'm not God. There's only one God." And I remember really getting into the semantics with him, going, "You can't say that. You can't say that you are God." And I'm so profoundly grateful now that he taught me to think like that and to question everything, because I was so, the priest and the thing, and he goes, "They don't know, Mariska, they're just people too." And I remember he kept bringing it down, which really informed my questioning of anyone. You? Give me some skin on that. But, so it's funny, right? Come on. I mean, I should be nervous. But I do have 2 films here, so I can't not make the joke. So I asked these women today, and I said, "Are you still Catholic? What is your faith now?" And they all said, "I love God, but I'm not Catholic anymore." Very powerful, very powerful. Because of the betrayal. This is what I'm saying, because of the betrayal. It's like your family, it's like your parents, it's your connection to our humanity. And once that's gone, what do you have?
Let me ask you about some of the team that has made this film come
please
together.
ask me.
So Lorena and Filippo, who have been working on this for years, what was it that you saw in them that made you want to sign up and be a part of it?
Well, first, their commitment to this issue, their fearlessness, their passion, they were undeterrable, but also just such incredible filmmakers. I was so moved by so many things about it, but also by the restraint that they show as filmmakers and how elegant so much of it is, how they get into the story and how, there's so many things. I don't know how deep we want to get into the weeds, but even their color palette. And there was so many things, so many of the shots are so beautiful that I can't even describe. It just took me there. It took me in. It was so visceral for me. But again, their commitment to telling this story was, these are my people.
And Trish Adlisek, who you've now been together on 3 films with I Am Evidence. She was on the producing team of My Mom Jayne, and now working with you on this. Can you talk about what that?
Yes, it's been incredible. It's just been an incredible partnership. Trish Adlisek is amazing. I mean, listen, she's a 2-time Oscar nominee. Sometimes I feel like that's all I need to say. But we have such an incredible shorthand, and I don't know that I've ever met anybody so thorough. Again, she has so creative, so many incredible ideas, and pushes to make it better. We have this sort of beautiful relationship with dissatisfaction of always wanting to keep digging, and no rock is left unturned, and that is a gift. It's never good enough. So it's a joy and a privilege to work with her.
We have just a few minutes left, but I want to ask, oftentimes when the Catholic community comes under scrutiny, as it has over the last few decades over, the recurring issue of sexual abuse, I've witnessed it within my own extended family of Catholic circles, denial, deflection. What do you think it's going to take, and why do you think it's important to, for that community to open itself to these stories?
I think it's past denial. What was the other word you used?
Deflection.
Denial and deflection. It's beyond that. Now it's complicity. They are complicit. Because when you find a priest that has abused a man, a boy, a woman, and they take the priest and they move him around, there's your answer. I can't comprehend that, and that's what needs to change. That is what, it's harm upon harm upon harm. As Catholics, we're taught to repent. It's a tenet of Catholicism, is repent. And so why is there no repenting? Why are they not doing what they teach us to do every single week? There's so much hypocrisy. The good news is that obviously our Pope now is trying. They know, is acknowledging it. It knows, but it's the machine of it that's not doing anything. We learned of a story of several survivors that were actually sent to the same facility, I don't even know what to call it, where the abusive priests were housed. And they sent survivors there. And this place where they send them is like a country club. It is. And there's no therapy going on there. So there's a lot of harm being perpetrated, harm upon harm upon harm, and it has to stop. And we need to keep talking about these things because there's so much going on in the world right now, and people in a way are getting deadened, right? Because so many bad things are happening, but we must keep fighting. We must retain and hold on to our humanity and say, I will keep talking about this. I will hold accountability. And the only way they will get us back is by holding perpetrators accountable, period, end of story.
Mariska, thank you for the 2 gifts you've brought to us this year with My Mom Jayne and now with Nuns versus the Vatican. It's wonderful that it's your first time at the Toronto Film Festival. I hope we get to see you back here a lot more with future documentaries.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for coming. Thanks to Mariska.
Thank you. Hold on. Guys, I just dropped the mic.